Universe 11, Pride Troops Headquarters. In a completely dark and spacious room, there was a being with a muscular build and gray skin. He was wearing what seemed to be a suit predominantly black and red with a pair of white boots and gloves. This being was levitating in a posture of meditation with a red aura covering him in its entirety. This is Jiren, who, according to some deities, classifies him as the most powerful mortal in the Universe 11. He was training and enhancing his acquired abilities throughout his entire life. Life through meditation, a method that for some was boring and useless, but for him, it was one of the best ways to progress and increase his strength. Leaving that posture, he would open his eyes, revealing them, a completely black color with white reflections resembling a pair of pupils. It was already a lot of training for today. He deserved a little break, and what better than going to see his new friends? The Gray would inevitably begin to remember the events throughout these 12 months of the Tournament of Power, which, by the way, there were not a few. After the multiversal event, Jiren reflected on his behavior in front of his teammates who supported him in the tournament. He saw that he was always an ungrateful fool when he saw his comrades as simple nobodies when in the worst moments. Those who were always there for him were them. Oh, cruel irony. The one trying to vindicate himself for his actions began to see his teammates as more than a couple of disposable pieces. He began to see them as his friends, people he could count on. He began to trust them and they trusted him. Above all, he began to get along well with his teammate named Cocotte. Ever since the tournament happened, she began to approach him in the hope of talk or interact a little. Normally in the past I would have ignored her, but now I let her get closer. And the truth is that she was quite curious. All the time I tried to get her attention, and that instead of bothering him, it made him feel good in some way. Thanks to these actions, he began to feel that warmth in his heart that had disappeared because of him. Despite his fear of being abandoned again, his friend Topo told him that they were going to be together until the end as a team and friends that they were, even if they had to give their lives, they would do it. Remembering those words, a slight smile framed his face, before he never dared to smile or have friends again. But thank you to that person, that scion who crossed his path in that tournament, he did it again. He believed again in that power that he feared so much. Friendship. He remembers those words every day since then. I won't see you again. The gray man clenched his fists in a sign of excitement. Widening his smile, he would say in a low voice and with great conviction, "Next time I swear that Goku will win." Jiren was going to leave the room to meet with his companions, but a hatch would open, revealing the silhouette of a being taller than the strongest mortal being in Universe 11. With the same suit, with brown skin and a big mustache, approaching the place with his eyes closed, where his friend trained. His name was Topo, the leader of the Pride Troops. "Ha, Jiren, here you are. I assumed you would be training." The leader would laugh slightly as he confirmed his theory. No matter how much time passes, his friend never stops getting stronger. You know, it's always good to be in optimal condition for the mission. The Gray would respond to his colleague. At this time, he is already capable of starting a friendly conversation. Before, he only limited himself to saying what was necessary, but now, he could converse more calmly. Perfect. I wanted to warn you that there are problems on a distant planet, on the quadrant 16 to be precise. And they need our help. Topo would seriously say the latter. The issues regarding the missions were not to be taken lightly. Jiren would nod to confirm his participation. This last time he has participated in each of his group's missions. Personally, it was to be able to be closer to them, and to be able to learn more about feelings. Both began to leave the room towards the objective, but for some reason the most powerful fighter in Universe 11 stood still for a few seconds, looking at the ground, which made his companion doubt. Is something wrong, Jiren? Topo would ask with serious doubts. He had never seen his friend like that. He seemed nervous about something. Can I ask you a favor, Topo? The gray guy was not used to asking for help, and the truth is that he liked it. It caused some discomfort, which earned a surprised face from the leader of the Pride Troops. Please, he rushed to say before it was too late. I must admit that you took me by surprise, Jiren, but of course, you can ask me anything. Topo would see how his partner closed his eyes and sighed, ready to speak. Even if he didn't say it, the leader was very eager to know what it was about. Could you help me find a new pose? Jiren would look away to the side. This would really leave the leader dismayed, but after a while I let out a small sigh along with a small laugh. My goodness, for a moment I thought you would tell me about a powerful enemy that you couldn't defeat. That would be a great threat to everyone. But poses are something serious too, especially here in the troops. Why do you want to change yours? The leader observed his friend, who saw him as somewhere between curious and displeased by what he had said. Shaking his head, he was about to answer. Well, I thought that with a new pose I could integrate more into the group and continue strengthening these bonds of friendship that I have formed with you. The most mortal powerful man of Universe 11 would be sincere with his friend, who saw him with a face between happy and stunned. I am glad that you continue to open up to us, Jiren. I hope we can meet your expectations in search of your new pose, and never forget that you can always count on us, my friend. Topo would exclaim with a big smile towards his comrade. But there's something I don't understand. Why change your current pose? I think it looks cool and makes you look mysterious. The next Hikaishin wanted to know his colleague's intentions. His pose didn't work. It was not bad enough to change it. I don't know how to explain it, but that pose feels very closed, somewhat isolated from the others. I feel that changing it will help me establish myself much better in the group. And above all, it will help me understand the kind of justice for which they fight. I mean, for which we fight. The Gray would explain his reasons, making his friend understand. It was a quite honest attitude for part of the Gray, and I had to thank him for that. I see. Well, after the mission we will begin immediately with practices. I'm sure we will find some pose that fits with your image and that of the group. Jiren would give a small smile in response. Both were prepared to go towards the mission. Normally his colleagues always take care of the threat, but now he wanted to stretch his body a little to be in its best condition when he meets that scion again, and what better opportunity than this? But in the middle of the journey, a blinding light would land on Jiren, causing him to stop abruptly. This brightness did not allow him to see his path clearly. But what? Jiren would cover himself to avoid momentary blindness like his companion. When that strange light dissipated, there was no trace of the most powerful warrior in Universe 11. Topo would be able to locate his comrade's trace anywhere with his gaze. That light, what could it have been? Did that take away Jiren? But how? Why? He had to contact his Lord Belmont as soon as possible. They had to locate their friend quickly. Universe 6, on a random planet. Night and heavy rain predominate the climate of said planet, where you can see a city and a large number of people walking from one place to another doing their daily duties. In the middle of said crowd you can see a being taller than the rest, walking calmly with his eyes closed and with his hands in his pockets. He turned into a kind of alley in the big city, revealing his appearance. He was a being with violet skin, just like his suit and boots. This was Hit, the legendary assassin of the Universe 6, known on all planets for never failing a job that has been assigned to him. He stood in the middle of said alley as if he were waiting for something, or if some event occurred. Suddenly a hooded, blue-skinned individual appears, approaching the most powerful individual in the universe with nervous steps until he is in front of him. "Do you have the payment?" he would ask with the serious expression that characterizes the murderer, causing slight shivers to the villager who was not used to dealing with that guy. "Did you get the job done?" The subject would return the question to make sure that the murderer was not playing any tricks on him, although due to the fame he had, he would surely have already completed his errand. "It's done. Your boss will never see the light of day again," he would say with that voice so cold that it would freeze the devil himself. The client would nod his head, and then from his coat he would take out a sealed envelope with a large content inside. Possibly it was money. "It's all there?" he would ask, taking the envelope without looking at it. It never hurts to ask. "That's right, everything is just as we agreed." The guy would answer, scared by the look that the violet-skinned being was giving him. With a nod, Hit would leave that alley to proceed to withdraw from the city and go to a desolate meadow so as not to be disturbed. After a few seconds, the murderer would look at the dark sky with a calm expression, thinking about a certain topic that would not leave him. "Calm for days now. I think it's time to finish my work, son Goku," the red-eyed man would think with a smile when remembering that strange scion that he could not understand. Well, he was sure that he was not the only one with those kinds of thoughts. Every time he fought with Goku he had fun, quite strange for him. Someone like him, since he doesn't remember when he had fun with something in his long years of life. Without a doubt that warrior was the most interesting being in all the universes. In these 12 months he began to train hard, improving his techniques by unthinkable levels to be able to defeat who could be considered his rival and last job. He took flight away from that planet in search of the Scion to put an end to that task that was left pending a long time ago, but on his journey a light interrupts its flight by causing the murderer to break suddenly, closing his eyes and covering himself to avoid blindness. Upon dissipating said light there was no trace of the legendary assassin. It is as if he had disappeared out of nowhere. Universe 7, Planet of the Destroyer God. On a planet similar to an inverted pyramid with a large tree on its surface, there were 3 beings in the central part of the place. One of them has violet skin and a thin complexion with long ears resembling a cat. He was dressed in blue pants, brown shoes, and accessories that are seen in Egyptian gods. While another, with light blue skin and a tall and thin build, had an extravagant white upward hairstyle and was dressed in a burgundy-colored costume with a large scepter in his right hand. They were observing the third subject, who seemed to be human, meditating in complete concentration and harmony. The subject had a very particular hairstyle distributed in 8 black tips, a body with a tall, muscular build. He was dressed in an orange GI with a blue t-shirt, boots, and wristbands. Do you really think I managed it, Whis? The violet-skinned being was not very convinced about this. Patience is a virtue, Mr. Bills. Just give it time. I'm sure you're about to achieve it. The subject of the scepter would speak with the calm and serenity that characterized him. Well, if you say so. From one moment to the next, the being who was meditating begins to release a light blue aura and a comforting warmth. His hair turns a slightly raised white color. He opens his eyes, revealing them a hypnotized silver. Leaving his meditation posture, he would observe with a small smile the 2 beings who were pleased to see him in that state again. A long time had passed since they saw him for the first time that it even seemed like a somewhat distant memory. A chief would be heard saying with a voice that predominates the calm and determination of a warrior. Well done. Goku would know that he would make it. The blue-skinned being would say with a big smile of satisfaction on his fine face to the person now known as Goku. It was thanks to your training, Whis. The black-haired man would bow as if thanking the one who in recent times was his teacher and at the same time is the protective angel of the Universe 7. Without him, Goku knew that not even in his dreams would he have reached this high level of power. Although Lord Beerus also helped me, the now white-haired man would look at the violet-skinned being also known as the God Destroyer of Universe 7, who, being the center of attention, would avert his face, pretending to downplay the importance of the matter. I already told you. You were taking too long. I thought you would never make it again, but now that I see it before my eyes again, I must congratulate you. You did pretty well for a mere mortal. Who would think that a scion would manage to enter the realm of the gods? Goku would laugh when he saw Beerus act that way. Lord Beerus. The god of destruction would leave his thoughts to focus on that scion who was looking at him with a small, somewhat anxious smile in his opinion. Now that I have the perfect Ultra Instinct, could you fight me without holding back? Please. I always wanted to know what your true strength is. Goku would look at Beerus with a challenging look. He wanted a rematch after that fight. And what better opportunity than this? Well, it wouldn't be bad to stretch my muscles for a moment. It's been a long time since I released my maximum potential. Very well, he accepted, but whoever loses will have to pay with a big plate of food tonight at Bulma's house. I hope you don't disappoint me. Beerus would have a smile on his face for the fight he faces. It's been many years since he had a battle at his level. This would be a lot of fun, and the best of all is that if I won at night, I would have a lot of food. Whis would sigh and put up an energy field to prevent them from destroying the entire universe at the first impact. There was already happened once, and he had to go back in time to stop them, and the truth is that he wanted to save himself all that trouble now. The 2 fighters would launch themselves at maximum speed to clash their fists, making the entire energy field tremble, but the Scion's strength was greater than that of Bills, who looked somewhat dismayed, but then, to the confusion of his enemy, he would smile. New account. Wow. I must admit that this is very funny. The god would exclaim with great enthusiasm and then walk away and begin to expel all his power, leaving Goku impressed. He never imagined that only one guy had so much strength stored up. The god was now surrounded by a layer of purple energy that covered his entire body. Whis, on the other hand, was really surprised. He never thought that his two disciples would fight with everything they had. Very well, Goku, since you have made me come this far, I will not forgive you for retract, the purple-skinned being would exclaim loudly. He, don't worry. I would never abandon a battle. This is getting very exciting. With those words, the Scion would increase his power to its maximum capacity. That's how it is spoken. Both would clash fists again, to now begin a strong exchange of fists and kicks that only the angel could witness. The truth is that this battle was something worth admiring. No one took advantage of the other, and it was something very impressive. Boom! After a few minutes of hand-to-hand combat, the white-haired man would walk away from his rival, and then begin to charge his signature technique. Cupping his hands, a blue sphere would appear. I'll finish this now. Ka! Me! Ka! Me! Don't be too clever. While Bills charged a large supernova bigger than his own planet. 5Ka! The Scion's blue sphere would be propelled forward in the form of a large torrent of energy of the same color. At the same time that the god's supernova was thrown, causing both powers to collide. The battle was very tough. Neither of them wanted to lose. The angel knew that very well. Both were equally stubborn. After a few minutes, both energies would explode simultaneously, leaving a large screen of smoke, which would vanish due to the ki of both warriors who were panting from the exhaustion caused by the techniques. But the challenging smile did not disappear from those faces. Both opponents would take distance again, and they would get into combat position. When they were about to launch themselves against each other again, a light would surround Goku, making Whis and Beerus open their eyes in surprise. When the light dissipated, there would be no trace of the Scion, leaving the Hakashian and the Angel of Universe 7 worried and confused. What the hell happened, Whis? Where's Goku? Beerus would shout without understanding the situation of his disciple and Starfighter. Whis would search with his staff for some sign or whereabouts of the Scion, first in his universe, and when he saw that he was not there, he proceeded to do a search through the 12 universe, but there would be nothing, leaving him very surprised. I can't find it. Find him, Lord Beerus. It is as if he had disappeared from this dimension or existential plane. He is not in any of the other universes. Whis, he would look at Beerus, who was with a face of great caution. No, could this be happening to him now? Why do problems always have to happen in his universe? Returning to his base form, he would begin to think about where he could be. We have to find him quickly. I don't care. I want to imagine if the Lord Zeno finds out that his only friend has disappeared. Beerus would express something upset. If the king had all found out about this situation, his life, no. More well. The entire Universe 7 would be at risk. And he didn't want that. Existential void, dimensional gap. We see a Goku with his eyes closed floating in a kind of violet place with large crystals around him. The Scion would begin to regain consciousness and would notice the strange place he was in, finding it a very strange one. Don, where am I? He would ask out of nowhere, seeing that he was completely he would try to move, but he couldn't for some strange reason. It's as if his muscles were asleep, so all he had to do was wait to see if something happened. When suddenly two lights would also appear next to him, the Scion, upon observing them closely, would be stunned. There were two warriors that he knew very well. They were Jiren, the most powerful mortal of Universe 11, and Hit, the assassin of Universe 6. Two of his new rivals that he met recently, but he would notice that both were unconscious just as he was a few moments ago. Hit, Jiren, wake up. The black-haired man would try to make them come to his senses. To his relief, he would see how both began to open their eyes upon recognizing that particular voice that they would recognize anywhere. Both warriors would turn around and see that man once again after so long. Goku! The newcomers would say at the same time upon recognizing that Scion who changed their lives in more ways than one. Both would become aware of the other's presence and would look at each other simultaneously, recognizing each other. You're Jiren from Universe 11, right? Hit would question when he saw the warrior who was with him. He would never forget that face. And above all, that power that shook the kingdom of nothingness. Assassin of Universe 6, Jiren, when he saw him, he would feel a little bad for how he treated him in the tournament that time. When referring to his profession, he had to ask him apologies for being displeased with your job. After all, everyone earns money as they can, or not. When he was going to say something, Goku beat him to it. Hey guys, do you remember how they got here? Both warriors would shake their heads. To tell the truth, neither of them knew how the hell they ended up in this place, only that strange light, and then, nothing, everything was in white. But that was the least important thing. Now they had to figure out how to get back. They would try to move, but the black-eyed man would tell them that he tried before and couldn't, so they didn't know what to do or how to proceed. And now how are we going to get out of this place? Jiren would dare to ask, as there was no solution to help them get out of that strange world or dimension. Maybe I can help them. A voice echoed throughout the place, making the warriors turn their gaze to find an old man? Or so it seemed. It was a being with wrinkled white skin with horns and a long white suit with 6 magatamas with 9 spheres below it. But the strangest thing was his eyes, which were a metallic purple color with circular patterns. It is an honor to have before me the strongest mortals of the 12 universes. That person would tell them with a calm smile. The 3 warriors saw the old man in front of them with a serious look. Despite seeming friendly, they did not let their guard down at any time, especially Hit, who was trying to analyze the old man to try to find out his true intentions. Who are you? Goku would dare to ask about the 3. Somehow he had to break this awkward silence. The old man would give a big sigh to put a serious face on the 3 people in front of him. My name is Hagoromo Otsutsuki, better known in my world as the Rikudo Sennin. That strange violet-eyed guy would appear, confusing our protagonists since they had never heard of such a person where they lived. Hagoromo. Jiren would start confused, trying to remember any name known or related to him in his universe. Otsutsuki? He would end up just as confused or more confused than a member of the Pride troops. That last name was one of the stranger than he has heard. Riku what? Goku would question, not knowing anything about the subject, and especially that nickname so strange and difficult to pronounce. Rikudo Sennin Son Goku. Hit would give a sigh of annoyance when remembering how stupid and brutal he could be. To be the scion when he wanted to. Let's get to the point. What do you want from us? Jiren would rush the strange subject. Please. I need your help urgently. Hagoromo would say, causing intrigue in the 3 by not waiting for said request and the hasty way in which he asked for it. Help? For what? Goku didn't understand anything and was already starting to get impatient. And the truth was, he was not one of those people who like to wait too long for things. To protect the world that I create. Those words would make the 3 of them open their eyes a little in surprise. That favor was something surprising even for them. Protect your world? What do you mean, old man? Hit would seriously look at the Rikudo as well as his companions. Protecting a planet? He was surely a very strong enemy if they needed the 3 of them together for this strange job. Exactly. The world is in danger and I need your help to avoid a catastrophe that will bring it to an end. I beg you. What if we refuse? Hit would ask in a threatening way. Despite not being able to move, he was not going to let someone force him to do something he didn't want to do, and even less so if there was no payment in between. It's impossible to refuse. Assassin Hit. I have used all my abilities to bring you to this world. The 3 most powerful mortals of the 12 universes would open their eyes with surprise and concern upon understanding those words. If the old man said that he used all his energy to bring them, that meant they couldn't come back. How can we not be able to come back? They are going to kill me if I return to Earth. Especially Bulma if I don't go to her birthday party. Our favorite scion would scream in a frightened and historic way. Calm down, Mr. Goku. The 3 looked at the wise man who was watching them with great calm. Once you finish this job, you can make the decision to return to your world if you wish. So, we just defeat the one who causes problems on their planet and that's it? We can go back? Jiren would think that the mission was very easy, especially if Son Goku and the Assassin of Universe 6 go with him. It would only take them about 5 minutes to finish everything. I would like to say yes, Mr. Jiren, but no. Things are not as simple as they seem. The enemies of those who you speak will appear in the not-too-distant future, for therefore, they must stay for a while for the expected facts and events to occur, otherwise, they could suffer inexplicable and terrible alterations. The wise man would see how the three of them would be paying attention to the matter. Well, his return depended on this strange mission. Alterations? The son would ask the old man, who nodded seriously. Look at this. As you saw, if you don't do something, this could be the future of my world. The white-skinned being would notice the scion's displeasure upon hearing this news. I beg you, gentlemen. I want you to avoid unnecessary deaths in the world. I know that you can do it. You have a strength much greater than mine or that of anyone in my world. I do not want any more lives to be lost, lose in vain for my son's ambition. The latter would leave the three baffled by knowing who was responsible for the atrocities in the world of the wise man. Wait a minute. Are you saying that your son is the cause of the problems that occur on your planet? Hit would see the Rikudu, who lowered his head in sadness. Well, he is not directly my son in blood, but I feel him in spirit. The ancestor would see how the three of them were trying to understand the situation, although it was very confusing for them. I will tell you the history of my world completely, so that you can better understand my words. And thus the Rikudo would tell them the whole story. So that Madara guy is causing problems in your old home. Goku would see how the old man would shake his head, causing a big question mark in his head. That guy was supposed to be the cause of wars and most of the problems, or not? He is being manipulated just like my son Indra, all because of my mother's creation. Black Zetsu, he altered the stones of the Uchihas, completely deceiving them, so that they would do a forbidden technique, and that way they could achieve the long-awaited peace in the shinobi world, when in reality it is quite the opposite. Now Goku would nod his head, finally understanding the problem. That Zetsu did have great evil in his heart. All those atrocities he did, the deaths he caused, somehow they made him angry. Then I will go. Jiren and Hit, they would look at the scion, who was with a determined look on his face. I'm not going to let many people die because of that despicable being. As a member of the Pride troops, it is my duty to keep people safe from all evil, and above all I must protect them from danger. I'll go too. Everyone would now look at Jiren, who had a serious face, but that denoted conviction in his words. I have a pending job with Son Goku. I guess I'll go, the assassin would say with a slight smile on his face. He would not leave his work with his new rival unfinished, even if he had to do this mission in the middle. Thank you very much. I appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. I will only give you 2 warnings before leaving. Rikudo would see how the 3 warriors were paying attention again. I have told them to save innocent lives, but out there are people who don't deserve it. Jiren, Hit, and Goku would understand where the matter was going, especially when noticing the tone the old man used, the gray one. He would answer immediately to clarify doubts. We will only do it in extremely necessary cases. The scion and the murderer, they would nod in support of their partner. The Rikudo would smile before answering them. Very well. Now regarding the other thing, a strange energy has been appearing lately, one that I am totally unaware of. This completely captured the son's attention. An energy? The old man would nod his head, confirming his question. That's right, that energy is too powerful to come from my territories. I suppose it must come from some different dimension or alternate universe. This greatly excited the black-haired man. So, an energy from another dimension? This gets increasingly interesting. The warrior from Universe 7 would exclaim with enthusiasm marked on his face. I only ask that you put an end to that energy. We don't know what evils it could cause if it had a physical body. It is better to save ourselves the trouble. The white-haired man would clarify, making the scion depressed. But this will only be more boring, and we will not be able to know his true strength. Goku made childish pouts at the old man, who shook his head. I beg you, Goku, we must not allow the enemy to get stronger. You must finish him off when you have the chance. The sage of the 6 paths would speak patiently to the black-eyed. Don't worry, old man. We will take care of it if Son Goku does any mischief. Hagoromo would thank Hit, who received a confused look from the scion. Okay, it's time to go. I hope you guys change the shinobi world for the better, and above all, put an end to all evil. Suddenly the same light that had previously blinded them envelopes them, and they begin to disappear. One last thing, please find and take care of my successor. You will recognize him with the naked eye. I know we will see each other very soon. But until then, good luck. It was the last thing our protagonists heard before completely disappearing from that strange place. Ninja World, forest near the country of waves. A light would be present in the middle of a thick forest, showing our protagonists disoriented and confused, observing their surroundings. Apparently, this is the place that Hagoromo told us about. Hit would place his hands in the pockets of his suit looking at the panorama. This place was similar to. It is similar to the Earth. Goku would say, seeing the remarkable resemblance to his planet, anticipating the thoughts of the purple-skinned being. I feel very low energies, but at the same time very different. Jiren would feel the presences of the planet in case he had to take precautions or they had to take care of it. I feel energies close to us. Hit would see a path along which he felt some presences of people. They were kind of weak. But they were not defenseless. What are we waiting for, friends? Come on, maybe they can help us find a place to stay and find that town. What was its name? Like that, a village hidden in the paper. Goku would walk towards the path with determination. Hidden village among the leaves, son Goku. Hit and Jiren would give a sigh together. Sometimes it made you want to give the scion a good blow. Suddenly a big sound that would come from Goku, more precisely from his stomach, stopping them abruptly. And also find something to eat. Goku with a nervous smile would look at his companions, who looked at each other with doubt, and then follow the scion along the path, since there was no other path to take, and it was not very sensible to separate either. Nearby you would see a group walking animatedly along a path in the middle of the forest that would guide them to the country of the waves. There were 5 people, 4 men and 1 woman. The one who was in front reading an orange cover book was wearing a dress that he wears, a green vest, blue pants and sandals, with a gray hairstyle that defies gravity, a mask and a bandana covering his right eye. His name is Kakashi Hatake, or better known as Sharingan Kakashi, for having copied more than 1,000 jutsus, Johnny-sensei of Team 7. He was followed by a boy with a serious expression and an air of superiority. He was wearing a t-shirt, blue turtleneck with arm warmers, short white pants and blue sandals. He had onyx black eyes and hair of the same color with a strange shape of the back of a duck. This was Sasuke Uchiha, one of the members of the prestigious Uchiha clan. Next to him was a girl with a short and thin build with very pink hair. Particular, with green eyes. Dressed in a dress that predominates in burgundy and pink colors, short gray lycra pants and blue sandals. This was Sakura Haruno, one of the most useless genin of the generation and #1 fan of Uchiha Sasuke according to her, of course. Behind her was a boy who was the shortest of the 3, wearing an orange and blue suit with blue sandals, blonde hair. With some curious marks on the cheeks on his face, as well as light blue eyes. This was Naruto Uzumaki, better known as the #1 ninja to surprise people, or as civilians called him, the reincarnation of the Kyuubi, who went with his 2 hands behind his head, thinking about how not to be overshadowed by his rival, Sasuke. Next to the boy was the last person in the group. He was an elderly man, large and robust build with a curious hat. His name was Tazuna, the famous bridge builder of his town. The 5 were walking calmly along the path when suddenly a thick fog covers the environment, making vision difficult. Naruto hears a sound in the bushes, so he quickly throws a kunai at said position, only to be surprised that it was a simple animal, and also a small gift from her partner. "What are you doing, Naruto? Don't you see that he is a simple defenseless bunny?" Sakura would say as a reproach to her partner, who lowered his head having seen her. Huh. How strange, those rabbits are not usually seen these days. Kakashi thought surreptitiously when he saw the strange rabbit, since it was impossible for it to appear since it was spring. When he would feel a disturbance behind his back from him, "Everyone down!" Kakashi shouted, holding Tazuna to crouch. The genin imitated the jounin and crouched down, only to see a large sword pass over his head, with a shinobi on top of her, arms crossed. "Hence, fence, you made it, feel my presence, congratulations." A harsh and mocking voice will alert the group that became defensive with Kakashi ahead. Zabuza Momochi, class a renegade ninja from the village hidden in the mist. Kakashi observes the standing man about his great sword stuck in the tree. Brown hair and eyes, arm and leg warmers, blue pants and brown sandals. Kakashi of the Sharingan, "It is an honor that someone like you knows me," Zabuza would say, picking up his sword and getting into a fighting pose. "Hand over the old man to me and I will let you go." Zabuza would see how the group tensed at such words. Quickly. Battle formation Manji, protect Mr. Tazuna, and stay out of this fight. They know how to work as a team, it's time for them to show it. I will face him. Kakashi, with a commanding voice, would say to his students who, due to the atmosphere, would nod in fear. Sasuke, thanks to the killer instinct filtered by Zabuza, would be for completely out of his mind, and he would try to cut his own neck without being able to control himself. This sensation was terrifying. Don't worry, Sasuke, I will protect them with my life if necessary. Kakashi would say with a comforting voice that would reassure the boys by briefly dispelling that strange atmosphere. I didn't know you were a babysitter, Kakashi, look at them, they can barely stand up. Zabuza would smile mockingly when he saw the genin trembling. I won't let you hurt them. The silver-haired man would uncover his left eye, revealing something that Sasuke knew very well. Sharingan. B.A. But how? Sasuke didn't understand how his sensei owned something from his clan. Only Uchihas were supposed to have the honor of carrying said Jujutsu. The Sharingan. Get ready Kakashi, once I kill you we'll rip out that eye. With Militia Zabuza prepares to attack the sensei of Team 7. A few meters from the battle between the ninjas. Did you really become stronger than before, Goku? The three most powerful mortals would talk to each other as they headed to their destination, and the Scion, in the process, would be telling them about his hard training throughout that year that was not known. They had seen, that's right, Jiren. Just like I have perfected new techniques. I am very excited to try them with you. Goku with a smile would see Jiren who would nod his head, but a small smile too. Assassin of Universe 6, Hit would look at the member of the Pride troops who returned the gesture. I apologize for my behavior in the tournament. The red-eyed man would remain with his eyes open in sign of surprise. I didn't expect that from the warrior of Universe 11. Although it was a bit short, it sounded like a sincere apology. It doesn't matter. With those simple words, the matter was settled and buried in the past. Also, I would like to have a fight against you two to see my limit. Hit would say with a challenging look at his companions who attended with the same look. Apparently Son Goku infected them with his habit of fighting and getting stronger. I'm hungry, where will there be a place to eat? Goku lamented when he didn't see any place or animal to cook nearby. He must have eaten on Lord Beerus' planet before coming to this place. When Hit was about to say something, they would see a scene that was somewhat peculiar to them. They would see some people, one with a large sword holding a second subject in a shield made of water. 3 boys already protecting an old man. It's time for them to die. The guy who had the great sword makes some strange hand poses for the 3 most powerful mortals in the 12 universes, and out of nowhere a clone or something similar appeared. Similar to the man with the sword, he was made of water, that is, and he would address the children quickly. The guy with the sword would shout with homicidal intentions towards Kakashi's students, who would close their eyes waiting for the sad end of their young lives. The atmosphere in those forests was very tense. The resounding silence gave them away. Everything was very quiet. No one was saying anything. Those present were too stunned watching that man in the orange suit, who deflected the cut of sword of one of the most powerful renegade ninjas in the shinobi world as if nothing had happened. Who are you? The Zabuza clone would ask while trying to use force to cut off that meddler's hand, but he wouldn't have any success. Was that hand made of stone or something? It was impossible to cut it off. He would inevitably back away looking. To the new enemy that crossed his path, the renegade ninja tried to see some anomaly in that guy, but he seemed like a normal man, although deep down, he knew he wasn't. Something was disturbing him and he couldn't figure it out. My name is Son Goku. He now identified as Goku, who had a serious face directed towards the ninja with the great sword. He was not going to let that lunatic murder these children. You also dare to get in the way of my mission, Son Goku? Perhaps are you also from the village of the Leaf? Zabuza would smile when he saw that he had another prey for his sword Kubikirabak, but the question left the Scion somewhat doubtful. Zaldea of the Leaf? I think they had confused him with another person. I don't understand anything you're asking me, but I won't allow you to hurt these people. Zabuza would begin to laugh mockingly. Who did he think he was? Orange idiot? Did he think he could stop him? Him? One of the 7 swordsmen of the mist? What stupidity! Ha ha ha, friend, what a laugh you give me. I don't know how you stopped my sword from cutting, but it was just luck. Nothing but luck. But he saw that guy was just waiting for him patiently without fear, as if he was confident in his strength. Go ahead, idiot. Clank, but to the surprise of Zabuza and those present who were observing the facts. Goku stopped the blade again with a single finger. The swordsman began to cut non-stop, trying to give him even a wound, but the scion stopped him as if it were nothing with his finger. And to the brunette's dismay, it seemed as if that man was not taking it seriously, since he was now with a small smile. But how? The Momochi, he would step back without understanding how it was possible that this guy could stop his cuts with a simple finger. It bordered on the absurd. No shinobi could do this. No one had the reflexes to stop such sword attacks with one hand, and even worse, with one finger. You better give up. The difference between our powers is too big. Goku would watch as the swordsman would frown at him. Sign of frustration. Were they perhaps underestimating him? Perhaps they were weak? Zabuza Momochi being a Class A renegade ninja? Damn, don't make fun of me. The renegade would attack once again without caring about the orange guy's warnings, but to the astonishment of everyone present. Goku was no longer there. But he was still next to the Zabuza that had Kakashi imprisoned in the water prison. The black-haired man would deliver a 2-contained blow to the mouth of the swordsman's stomach, sending him flying to a nearby tree, causing him to lose control of his body. The water technique that held his prisoner. The silver-haired man would fall to the ground, spitting water and breathing heavily for a few more seconds, and he would already be dead. The genin and the builder would watch with wide eyes as that man commanded fly with a simple blow to the renegade as if it were nothing. That blow was too accurate. Zabuza would spit out a large amount of blood between words. He couldn't understand how he was able to suffer this damage. If it was just a simple blow from that guy who looked at him seriously, he supposed that his taijutsu was really very powerful. You let your guard down considerably, trying to cut me with your sword. Now it would be better for you to go back to where you came from and take your friend who was hiding among the trees with you. The renegade ninja would open his eyes suddenly when he saw that the mysterious warrior had discovered his assistant. This was bad. Not only was he good at hand-to-hand combat, but he was also a good censor. On the part of the spectators, they were confused. They didn't see him. No assistant anywhere. What did he mean by those statements? Mr. Zabuza! It would be better to retreat. He is not in a position to continue. A guy with a hunter's mask would take the swordsman, and he would take him away quickly to avoid any conflict with the scion. Goku would feel them move away, but it would stop them from importance. I was sure they would see them again at some point, but now I had to see if the white-haired guy was okay. Hey, are you okay? Did you swallow a lot of water? The one from orange suit. I would watch as the man got up with difficulty and breathing erratically, as if he were tired. Yes. I'm fine, I just need to rest. Before Kakashi finishes speaking, he would fall unconscious due to the use of his Sharingan. The scion would catch him before he fell completely to the ground. I think he ran out of energy. Goku would observe that his reserves were very low, but the strange thing for him was that his right eye took away a lot of energy, as if he couldn't stop said wear and tear. The black-haired man would approach with the jounin on his shoulders to the boys who looked at him with their mouths open. Hello, children, are you okay? Goku would stand in front of the small group with a friendly smile, taking them out of the trance they were in to observe the imposing warrior in front of them, which in Sakura's opinion was perfect. He was a quite strong taijutsu user. Wow, you are incredible, sir. With a single blow you stopped the guy who defeated Kakashi-sensei. How did you do it? Naruto would exclaim with stars in his eyes, visibly excited. Goku would scratch the back of his head in shame with his only available arm. With training and effort you can achieve amazing things, huh? What's your name, kid? The scion, he would ask with a nervous smile. He practically didn't know the name of anyone who was there with him. Naruto, my name is Naruto Uzumaki, future Hokage of the village hidden in the leaves, and they are my companions. Team, she is the beautiful Sakura, the bitter boy is Sasuke Uchiha. The old man in the back is the one we must protect. His name is Tazuna, and the man who carries it's Kakashi-sensei. Naruto would introduce everyone, although Sakura and Sasuke wouldn't like it even in the manamo as they were introduced by their crazy partner. Nice to meet you, Naruto. My name is Goku, but I think I already know. They knew. I hope we can get along well. The scion would give a big smile similar to Naruto's. They both shared more things than they seemed. Out of nowhere, the black-haired man would see some trees, making the group also turn their gaze. Although they didn't understand what they were seeing, there was nothing in that direction. You can go out now, guys. They are good people. And it happened. Two quite tall silhouettes would emerge from the forest. They looked like normal men, but when their shape was completely revealed, the group would be paralyzed with fear when they saw them. Well, people in quotes, since they didn't. They were entirely due to having gray and violet skin, respectively. Sakura fainted from fright at seeing those beings. While Naruto, Sasuke, and Tazuna were trembling and paralyzed in place. I think they are not used to seeing people of other planets. Hit would see how the girl fainted and the other three trembled with fear. If his theory was true, it would take a lot to get used to this place. Please don't eat us. Naruto would take a few steps back, making Hit and Jiren sweat a drop, anime style, for such a particular comment. Calm down, they are my friends, they are good people, trust me. Goku would try to make sure that the boys were not afraid of their classmates, although the truth was, he didn't blame them. Are you sure, Mr. Goku? Naruto would ask the scion, who smiled at him and nodded his head. After all, Hit and Jiren were not bad guys. We won't do anything to them, kid. Relax now. Hit would say with his dry voice as always, making Naruto calm down a little, but he would still doubt those things or humanoids. He had never seen anything like it before, not even in his wildest dreams. It's okay, but we won't take an eye off of him. Did you hear? Naruto would look at them suspiciously, while the murderer and the vigilante gave a sigh of resignation when they saw that they did not fully trust him, although it was justifiable. The old Hagoromo, I didn't specify that this planet was not familiar with beings from other worlds. Hey, do you know a place to leave people? This man? We can't leave him in this state, the orange one would ask Tazuna, who was shocked and didn't respond. Goku approached and waved his hands in front of the builder, who was still standing there without blinking, making him everyone sweated a lot when they saw this. I think he died. Naruto would see that Tazuna after a few seconds. He would come to his senses, and with some doubts he would take them home, seeing Hit and Tazuna repeatedly. They looked to see if they were doing something. He had never seen those things. Were they some kind of modern ninjas or something similar? What surprised him a lot was seeing that they weren't human at all, since that their skin color gave them away. As they walked towards their destination, Naruto would talk to the scion about the battle a few moments ago. He was so excited to know how he did, that he asked for advice on being as strong as him. Some shadow clones of the blonde carrying a Sakura, who was still unconscious. Sasuke was looking at the ground, thinking about how weak he was for not defending himself against Zabuza. He felt like a coward when that swordsman appeared. He was an Uchiha, damn it. How the hell a nobody was stronger than him? I bet that man called Goku didn't even have a clan. I have to have that power to surpass Itachi. I must achieve it. That strength will be mine, the Uchiha would think, looking at the guy in the orange combat suit who was distracted talking to his partner, Bond, with his lust for power that characterized him. He wanted to become stronger than his older brother to prove that he was the strongest Uchiha. He would deserve that title. Only him, no one else. Everyone was below him, and very soon he would make it known. From so much talk and thoughts they were having, the group did not realize that they had passed the country of the waves, and that they were heading to a house that was on the outskirts. Well, let's go. This is my home. Here we can take care of his master. Tazuna would give a long sigh, having arrived home still alive. He thought he wouldn't make it, but thank you to the gods he was able to return from Konoha safely. Approaching the entrance, he knocked on the door, and a beautiful woman greeted them. She was dressed in a pink sweater and a blue skirt in addition to brown sandals, classic in the villagers without military training or ninja knowledge. Father, you're back. I thought you wouldn't make it. I was so worried. The woman would hug Tazuna with small tears in her eyes. The emotion of seeing his father alive, that means he had kept his promise, he had achieved. Now, Tsunami. I have returned, and I also brought help, the help we need to free our people from this darkness that has tormented us for a long time. The woman would look at all the people. He stood behind his father, but he would stare at Jiren and Hit for a long time. He had never seen those people anywhere, but maybe they are a new kind of ninja, something like that. Miss, please, I need to leave this man in a bed or something comfortable so he can rest. Would you have a room or place to leave him? Goku would ask hurriedly, making the woman react, who looked at him. Sion would see the silver-haired man on his shoulders. Nodding his head, he would let them in, helping the one in orange to take Kakashi and Sakura to a guest room so they could regain their energy. 2 hours have passed since they arrived at the man's home. Builder, the Jiren, Tazuna, and his daughter would see the three strange visitors without taking their eyes off him at any time. Jiren was meditating on the ground without floating so as not to attract attention. He would have realized that these people he doesn't have the ability to fly or levitate. If they saw him, I was sure he would make a fuss or problem in the future. Hid was leaning against the wall with his eyes closed and would not have opened them again, even though he was not asleep. He was just avoiding those eye contacts. To tell the truth, he never thought I liked too much to attract attention or that there were a lot of people present, and Goku was sleeping sprawled out on the couch waiting for Kakashi's return. Those hours of doing nothing bored him more than necessary, and the scion he never liked to wait. Suddenly they would hear some steps coming from the stairs. Everyone turned their gaze towards them and saw that it was Kakashi, but he was leaning on a crutch to be able to move. Plus he had his Sharingan covered to don't waste chakra. Sakura also came next to him. Although she still looked a little dizzy, Kakashi-sensei. Sakura, I'm glad you're okay. Naruto would say with a sigh of relief upon seeing his partner and sensei in good condition. Students, who would nod in understanding. They could now be calmer knowing that their teacher was not in danger of death. But their students would see again how the Jounin had a serious face, making the boys uncomfortable with Tazuna and his daughter. That serious face only meant something, trouble, and the big ones. Zabuza is still alive, and I'm sure he'll come back to finish what he came to do sooner or later. Kakashi placed his eye on Tazuna, who became tense. The builder knew that he was the target of those guys, which made him quite uncomfortable. So, to prevent that from happening, come in, the three of them will undergo hard training. Kakashi would notice different expressions in his pupils. She had to try to correct that defect in her, otherwise she won't be a good kunoichi in the future. And as for you, the Sharingan wielder, he would turn around to look at the mysterious warriors, who returned the gesture. Goku and Hit already reinstated as well as Jiren. Everything fell into a strange silence, denoting that what they had to talk about was extremely important. I'm sorry. I have forgotten to introduce myself correctly. My name is Kakashi Hatake Jounin of the village hidden among the leaves. Would you be so kind as to tell me your name and village, please? The three warriors would look at each other and then nod, and Goku take a step forward. Well, as I already told the children, my name is Son Goku, and they are my friends. This one here is Hit. The son would point at the violet-skinned guy with his hands stuck in his suit and his eyes closed. And this one here is Jiren. Now Goku pointing at the guy, muscular man with gray skin with his arms crossed and a serious look. Ninjas would notice that the three of them were quite tall, maybe even taller than the third Raikage. They are a bit quiet, but when you meet them you will like them, really. Goku would say with a smile. It was true. At first it was also difficult for him to understand them, but when he did, they really seemed like very good people. And I think we are not from any village. Goku would scratch himself his neck in a sad way. They couldn't explain where they came from. He was sure they would treat them as crazy or something similar. I see. The silver-haired man would think about the options he had on the table. There were many, but it is better to have them as allies. When he saw Goku defeat Zabuza with a simple blow, he was sure that he must be at the level of the best Jounin in the village. And I didn't want to know what the two others. How about we make a little deal? Kakashi would see that the three warriors would pay attention to him. In itself, that topic interested them. What kind of deal? The Scion and Jiren would turn to look at Hit, who would ask cautiously. Being the best of the three when it comes to negotiations, he would be in charge of carrying things out. They help us in our mission. And in exchange we could give them a place in our village, since I doubt anyone else would want them, because of, well, their particular appearance. Kakashi would watch Hit meditate on the proposal. It was a fair treatment from any point of view, and fair treatment is welcomed by the... What do you think? The murderer may think it's a good idea, but he wanted to know the opinion of his group too. Maybe they were not satisfied. I say yes. Besides, I think that place is where the old man spoke in his stories. Goku would remember the story that Rakuto told them about the Senju, wars, and things like that. I think the same as Son Goku. Something will happen in the near future with that village. I'm sure of it. Jiren also approved the idea. He felt that great things were in store for that town. And he was never wrong in his speculations. Very well. The being from Universe 6, seeing the acceptance of his companions, decides to turn again to see Kakashi and be able to close the deal. It's a deal. We will go to that village. The sensei of Team 7 would nod in relief at having convinced the 3 warriors to accompany him. In his heart he feels that he will regret it in the slightest in the future. Perfect. Our mission is to protect Mr. Tazuna until he finishes a bridge for his people. The 3 strongest warriors of the 12 universes would nod when they knew the mission of Team 7. It was not complicated at all. In fact, the energies that they felt around it, it was no problem. If it's not too much trouble, we'll leave too. Jiren would say politely towards the builder, who with a nod would let them go. He didn't want to get involved. That guy is in trouble. Well, we're going to practice tree climbing. Kakashi would say with a grin, watching his 3 students who fall backwards to the ground upon hearing that they were going to do such basic training. And useless according to them. Forest near Tazuna's home. Goku, Jiren, and Hit would be in the middle of the forest away from Tazuna hunting. They did not want to disturb, and they did not want curious people to see them. They did not want them to discover their true strength. Not yet. Everyone would train in their own way. They would meditate, Hit trying to evolve his skills, and Goku doing warm-up exercises, the ones he always did before a battle. The black-haired man observed the sky carefully, seeing the figure of Goten and Gohan in the 2 most precious things that he had in these. Since Chi-Chi's death a few months ago, he promised her that he would take care of them with his life, but being here he felt that he was going back on his word. He had to put an end to them quickly. The problems that tormented this world, he had to do it for them. Hey! Goku would call the other 2 warriors, who would stop what they were doing to see what that particular scion wanted, although they already had an idea of what he needed. How about a training fight? It's been a while since the 3 of us faced each other together. Goku would look challengingly at the murderer and the vigilante, who they looked at each other a moment, and then give a small smile and a nod. This would be very interesting. Well, I still have a pending job. Son Goku, and with this fight I will find out what the fruits of training and evolution. Hit would say, walking away and putting himself in his classic fighting pose that he learned when he faced the black-haired man for the first time in that tournament between Universe 6 and 7. It's time for revenge, Son Goku. This time I will obtain the victory. Jiren would also exclaim, walking away with a challenging look, what better opportunity for revenge than this? The vigilante did not have a defined combat posture. His nature was more to counterpunch and counteract enemy blows and attacks. But if we fight now, we will draw attention, and we could destroy this planet if we don't hold back. I say this because it already happened to me. The Scion would give a nervous smile when remembering their confrontations against the god of destruction, especially that time they destroyed the eastern and southern galaxies without realizing it for not having contained themselves, so was had to go back in time to stop them and avoid said catastrophe. This time the same thing was going to happen. They were in the middle of the forest and on a planet similar to the Earth. Hit and Jiren, who accompanied him, agreed with him. Here it was too easy to attract attention, and they did not know with certainty how much this planet would withstand the impacts and shocks of energy. I'll take care of it. The violet skin being concentrated for a few moments so that out of nowhere the surroundings would be covered by a kind of emerald red mirrors, leaving the black-eyed and the vigilante somewhat confused. We are on another existential plane. Here we can fight freely without interruptions, and we will not have to worry about destroying this place. The assassin would explain to resume his combat posture. Hee. I didn't expect less from you, Hit. Every time we see each other you always surprise me with new things. Very good, let's fight. Goku would smile with determination to proceed to get into his classic turtle-style fighting pose that he learned several years ago. This fight was serious and he would take it as such. The tension was felt at very high levels, and no wonder. The battle was about to begin between the three most powerful mortals of the 12 universes. The atmosphere within the time barrier was very heavy. The breathing of the warriors could be heard due to the deep silence that manifested in the environment. The tension was at the highest possible levels. The three warriors, the most powerful of the 12 universes, were ready for battle. Even if it was just a little training, they would take it as seriously as possible. They would use everything they had. They would not hold anything back. The three, they would look at each other for a few more seconds, so that from one moment to the next they would disappear from vision and begin an exchange of blows very quickly for the human eye. It was a combat all against all without any respite. But it was noticeable that Jiren had a wide advantage over Goku and Hit, who were trying to open a gap in the Vigilante's perfect defense, although it was a complicated mission, since he always kept his guard up, and it seemed like he wasn't even trying at all. The Scion would move away from his opponents for a few brief moments to give a big shout to the sky and thus transform into the Super Saiyan Blue in order to balance the balance a little. But there was something different in the transformation. His hair was darker than usual, it had a denser aura, and now had pupils in its eyes. The assassin of Universe 6 would remain completely silent due to his astonishment at seeing the change in his rival. That transformation. Jiren couldn't believe what he saw either. Apparently Son Goku had obtained the same transformation as his partner in the tournament organized by the King of Everything. Yes, he is the perfected Super Saiyan Blue. It took me some time to understand it, but I see that my training paid off. Goku would say with a proud smile. Apparently his training paid off better than expected. And that was evident in the faces of his companions. They're not bad at all. Goku, you also surprised me with your new tricks. I guess I'll have to get serious against you. Hit would say while pressing the button of his belt, causing the lower part of his suit to come off for greater mobility. This would leave his companions somewhat confused since they had never seen him do that before. Hello. I didn't know you could do that. The Gray One would watch as the Red Eye moved his limbs more lightly. I only do it in special cases, and this is one of them. The assassin would smile with enthusiasm to proceed to position himself again in his defense pose, but Jiren was not going to stay behind them. He would expel power and a double aura would form around him similar to powerful flames. Okay, here I go. The now blue-haired man would launch himself at maximum speed towards the two, initiating another fierce exchange of blows that made the energy dome they had placed resonate. Now the battle itself was more balanced than at the beginning. At a certain point the assassin would make his jump in time that he could now use for almost 2 full minutes, hitting Goku and Jiren who couldn't move at critical points. When the technique dissipated, they would spit saliva with a little blood from having been hit repeatedly without having the ability to defend themselves. Without delay the murderer would not give them time to recover, since he would hit the air that would be teleported to his rivals and directed towards the vital parts of their bodies. Although they would quickly rejoin and deflect them without problems when they discovered this technique in the tournament. Both would approach the violet-skinned being, but before arriving, the Gray One would activate the abilities of his eyes, giving them thousands of blows in a second. Their adversaries who could not see or foresee them. Before being shocked, the Scion would do a somersault in the air and launch a powerful Kamehameha. The member of the Pride troops would deflect it with his eyes and the assassin would move to avoid it with his time jump. When the three faced each other, new account, they would smile and launch themselves again to hit their fists in the center and start another round of punches and kicks that seemed to have no end, although that only motivated them even more. Far from the battle in another distant part of the forest and near Tazuna's house, we see Team 7 gathered. The 3 young Genin were sitting while the teacher was standing in front of them about to start their training of tree climbing, something useless in the opinion of Naruto and Sasuke, while Sakura paid all possible attention to her teacher's teachings. Very well, guys, now she will begin her hard training to control her chakra. I hope you are ready because it will be very difficult. The silver-haired man would smile in his classic way, closing his only visible eyelid, confusing his students. Wait a minute! Weren't we going to learn to climb trees? Because now we will do chakra control exercises or whatever that is. The blonde would ask excitedly, was their sensei kidding them? Is it Naruto chakra? And for that reason, climbing trees is a way to train your energy control. Kakashi would say, raising his finger trying to get his point across. Someone explain to me what chakra is, please. I don't understand. The Uzumaki stroked his head sadly, making his companion sigh with fatigue. The Uzumaki would never change. Sakura, please do us the honors. The bearer of the Sharingan did not have much desire to explain the topic, and the pinkette was an expert in the art of teaching. Of course, Kakashi-sensei. Look, Naruto, chakra is energy that all shinobi have in our body. It is what is needed to be able to do jutsus, genjutsus, and other main branches of ninjas. After that brief explanation, Naruto would understand a little better about what chakra was, although he still had a couple of doubts. He was sure that he would solve them with time. Very well, you just have to try to concentrate his energy on the soles of his feet and walk towards the tree. The silver-haired man would explain and then proceed to do so. He would walk towards the trunk of the nearby tree with his hands on his back. Naruto and Sasuke would think that he was absolutely crazy. It was impossible to climb a tree that way. But his surprise was great when he saw the Jounin climb to the top of that trunk just walking without any kind of problem, leaving his friends with their mouths open. Pupils. All right, now it's your turn. Kakashi would shout to them from above, the blonde thinking it would be simple. He would run towards the nearest tree while channeling his energy into his feet, but when he stepped on the wood, it broke at the slightest contact, causing him to lose his balance and fall to the ground. Sasuke would try to make an attempt, but after walking 3 steps, he would fall to the ground without any explanation. They channel a lot of chakra into the ground. Tree will break, and your channel will fall very little. You must calculate the necessary proportions to be able to climb to the top. Here you go. Mark with these kunai every time you manage to climb higher and higher. The bearer of the Sharingan would throw some kunai at his students to mark their progress. The Uzumaki and the Uchiha would not give up, taking the kunai. They would approach their respective trees again too. Try again. Very good, Sakura. This is how it's done. The blonde and black-haired man would look up, and his jaws dropped in a comical way. His teammate would see at the top next to his teacher with a big smile. Bah, bah. But how the hell did you arrive so fast? That the blue-eyed man would scream outrageously, thinking that Sakura had cheated. No one could get up there so fast. The reason why she got there faster is because she has less chakra than you two. Shinobis with less energy are more skilled in controlling it. No offense, Sakura. The sensei of Team 7 would explain, making the boys understand, and depressing the pink-haired girl. At the end of the day, I want you to reach the middle of the tree. Start! The Jounin would exclaim and then walk away towards the house of Tazuna. Meanwhile, inside the temporal dome, the fight had concluded with a 3-way tie, although they were holding back their strength a lot so as not to destroy that barrier and wreak havoc on the planet. Next, we will do it without holding back. With a smile, Goku would see his companions who would nod. This fight was not what they expected since they did not push themselves to the limit, but the next one they would. And there they would see who it was. The strongest. The assassin would remove the barrier to be able to return to Tazuna's house after that good training, but Jiren would see part of the hit suit on the floor, so he would decide to pick it up to return it. Assassin of Universe 6, I think this is yours. The Red Eye would turn his gaze to the Gray, who had his missing part of his suit. Thanks, I guess. Hit would take it and hook it again with his belt. Just call me Hit. It would be too strange if you called me a murderer in front of other people. They would think badly of the situation. The vigilante would nod his head. The inhabitant of the 6th universe was right on that point if he told him. Murderer in front of the other people, they could have wrong thoughts about him. Hey! The black-haired man will draw the attention of his companions, who would leave their thoughts aside to pay attention to him. Have you felt the energy of that Naruto boy, right? Goku would ask seriously. Jiren and Hit would nod. He had 3 very different energies. The violet-skinned being would give his point of view on said energies that he had never felt before in his long years of life. One seemed familiar to me, although I don't remember very well from where. The vigilante would also talk about what he felt, that presence. He would swear that he had felt it somewhere. I think when we leave we will go to that village to check it out better. That boy causes me some curiosity. The Scion would see how his new friends agreed with his idea. That boy had something special that they will soon discover. The 3 warriors would come to the bridge builder's house almost at night to be able to hang out and relax after that frenetic combat. In the house apart from Tazuna's family, there were also Kakashi and Sakura along with the guests of the place chatting about various things. Topics. Goku would ask about the other children, and the Jounin would explain that they were in some kind of training, and they would not return until the evening. Some would still feel a little uncomfortable with the forms of Hit and Jiren. Their appearance was one of the strangest and to some extent inexplicable that could be. But sooner rather than later they would begin to get along when they saw that they were not a threat and they did not intend to hurt anyone when they were talking pleasantly. Sasuke and Naruto would enter through the door, although their appearance was quite unpleasant due to the hard effort they used in chakra control training. Tsunami, I would recommend that they take a bath and then join the group. To which none of the genin objected, since they really needed that bath to reduce muscle tension and that bad smell they gave off. The woman of the house would give the Team 7 the guest room so that they stayed, while the warriors from another universe had to sleep unfortunately in the dining room since there were no more beds or rooms, although they were not necessary since they always managed to accommodate themselves. To tell the truth, Jiren and Hit, they didn't need to sleep. They were already used to leaving sleep in the background, so they left Goku the sofa so he could rest. They spent the days in that country, where with Team 7 trained chakra control while the Scion and his group helped Mr. Tazuna on the bridge. Their strength and speed were very useful. Thanks to this they advanced by leaps and bounds, and so the next few days continued. Universe 7, planet Earth, peace and calm could be felt throughout the planet. The sun was shining high in the sky, denoting the good atmosphere that could be felt in the environment. After so many threats, after so many conflicts, feeling a little calm, it wasn't so bad. We found ourselves in the Capsule Corporation, place of residence of the wealthiest family in the world, and also residence of the most intelligent family, who created most of the technological artifacts in the area. In that house, some preparations were being completed for a big party that would be held in a few hours. A party that was one of the important ones in the capital, since it was celebrating the birthday of one of the most recognized inventors in the corporation. That's right. Bulma Brief's birthday preparations were taking place, and she herself directed the decorators so that nothing was missing. On the main balcony you could see a man of short stature but with a large build. Physique, black hair and eyes. He was wearing white combat armor with a blue spandex suit, while in his arms he carried a small girl with light blue hair and eyes. She was playing with one of the black-haired man's gloves. Vegeta! Don't you think you'll come to help? A woman would shout from the patio, calling the attention of the now identified as Vegeta. She had light blue hair as well as her eyes and an elegant blue dress. HMP, that's not my problem, Bulma. The man would look away to another point, ignoring the woman identified as Bulma, making her sigh with notable annoyance. These scions have no remedy. The woman would shake her head and then continue helping to finish the last decorative decorations of the celebration. While with Vegeta, he was looking towards a specific part of the patio very carefully, as if he were waiting for something or someone to arrive, and after a few seconds, a strange glow would be present, making him smile slightly. It's here. Flying in the direction of the glow, it would be placed near it, and when it stopped, a kind of strange yellow machine would have manifested itself. The hatch would open and a young man would emerge from it, with a blue hairstyle like his jacket and eyes. He was wearing black pants and yellow shoes, in addition to a large sword on his back. Hello, Dad. A smile would be present on the young man's face, seeing his father in front of his eyes again after so long. Hamp, I'm glad you finally arrived, Trunks. I thought you wouldn't come. The black-haired scion would confess to the one identified as Trunks. My mother invited me to her party before leaving for the future. It would be rude on my part not to attend. The young man of the sword, I would press a small button on the machine, and it would be wrapped in a cloud of smoke, so that it would later be transformed into a small capsule. Trunks! Both scions would look in the direction of the call and would see a Bulma approaching them with great happiness marked on his face. Upon arrival, he would hug the newcomer with great enthusiasm. I'm glad you were able to come, son. The woman would speak, extremely happy that her son was able to attend her celebration. I wouldn't miss it for anything, Mom. The young man would respond with a small smile to then separating from the hug with her mother. Very well, first of all, I want to know how things are in the future. Bulma would not finish speaking since a slight tremor would interrupt her. And when they turned around, the three would see the god of destruction of Universe 7 with his angel that they had left unexpectedly, and their faces could tell it was an emergency. Bulma! Beerus would scream euphorically, trying to locate the human as soon as possible. This was an emergency, and he needed her as soon as possible to try to solve it. Some steps would be heard to his right. Placing his gaze on the notarial sound, it was her. It was Bulma, but she was accompanied by two people. One was the other was Vegeta's apprentice, and behind them is the brat from the future, who, due to his hurry, had forgotten that young man traveled back in time. What's wrong, Lord Beerus? Is it an emergency? The woman would ask, worried. She was sure it was something bad. But I wanted to find out the seriousness of the matter. Goku has disappeared. Shinobi World, almost a full week had passed, and the Genin already knew how to walk through the trees without their hands in a perfect way without falling. Well, Sasuke and Naruto, because Sakura achieved it a long time before. While the bridge was almost finished, only a few small details were missing. At this moment, everyone was at Tazuna's house in a somewhat peculiar scene. I want more! Naruto and Sasuke were in their usual absurd competitions, but now they were doing it over food, something that in Haruno's opinion was truly meaningless idiocy. After digesting a few more dishes, they would vomit the food, causing a drop of sweat to everyone present due to the childish behavior of both Genin. And they would get a small scolding from Sakura. Goku's group would look at the girl scolding always to the Uzumaki, but never said anything to the other boy. They didn't understand why this happened, but later they would ask Kakashi. He should know why. Why are they still here? They don't see what cat is going to kill them. A child would be present in the dining room. He was short and wore a large white hat. He was known as Inari by the group. The boy would get the attention of everyone present, who would stare at him. Hey, that cat won't do anything to us. We are very strong. We are going to defeat them all together, Databeo. Naruto would say with conviction and confidence in his words. He had a path to follow, and he would never go back on his words, but little Inari would react in a rather abrupt and delirious way for his age. Everyone will die. Don't try to play yourself the hero. No one is. You are from Konoha, will never know the pain of this town. Surely you never suffered like all of us. Everyone would remain silent, leaving a tense silence in the atmosphere, but there was someone who did not agree with the infant, and that someone was Jiren. He was a little upset by such words. Since he practically suffered worse things in his childhood, for this child to want to act important now, he had to go through hell on earth when he was just a little boy with no way to defend himself. He lost his family, his friends, everything, and yet this child yelled at them as if they had suffered worse things. Okay, nonsense, but there was someone else who took it the worst, and that was Naruto. Do you want to shut up the hell up? Everyone would now look surprised at Naruto. They never expected that scream from happiest boy in the group. No one expected him to react that way. You were never alone. You have your mother and grandfather who appreciate you with their life. In change, there are people like me who never received love in their damn childhood. I never received a good night from a mother or a well-done son from a father. I assure you there are people who suffered much worse things than you. With a slam on the table, Naruto would leave the house, holding back tears in his eyes as he remembered a very dark and raw part of his hard childhood. Everything became a blur again. Sepulchral silence that would be broken almost immediately by Inari's cries. He would go to his room, quickly followed by his mother, who was trying to console him. Is what Naruto said true? The scion would ask Kakashi once this talk was over. The silver-haired man would sadly nod his head. Sakura and Sasuke were the whole time without saying a single word, but inside, they were very surprised since they didn't know that about their teammate. Well, to tell the truth, they never wanted to get close to him. That's right. People despise him too much for no apparent reason. They even had the nerve to leave a scar on his body on his birthday. And the worst thing is, the whole thing is that our Hokage does nothing to prevent these atrocities. He laughs at Naruto's misfortune, and it is something that makes me hate him. Kakashi would say the latter with hatred marked in his voice, remembering as his leader the person who has to protect all the people in the village. He doesn't care in the least if Naruto lives on the streets, or is beaten by the villagers, or dies of hunger, or real shame. Now everyone present had a mixture of feelings upon hearing that little story of the blonde boy. Even Hit felt a little sorry for him. They were shocked and at the same time sad. The boy would never harm a fly, and yet he must endure such barbaric acts from the same people in the town where he lives. Jiren perfectly understood the blue-eyed man's pain, being alone for a long time, without anyone to support you to get ahead. I didn't understand how they could hate such a happy person who the only thing he wants is the good of the world. Without a doubt, the vigilante is now extremely interested in that blonde. With Naruto, the genin would reach the deepest part of the forest. He had run for almost 10 minutes without stopping and without looking back. The only thing he wanted was to be alone for a few moments and reflect. He would sit down on the trunk of a tree while he remembered his hard childhood, the beatings, the insults, the abuse, in short, everything they had done to him, every time they hit him. Every time they yelled at him, everything, not being able to contain his tears anymore, he would start crying without consolation under the starless night. Each tear represented his feelings that he kept for so many years in the deepest corners of his life. Heart, and now, they were all coming to light. From shedding so many tears, he would fall asleep without realizing it. The next day, the blue-eyed man would begin to slowly open his eyelids. He had fallen asleep in the middle of the forest without realizing it, where there could be thousands of wild creatures and wandering shinobi. Very good, Naruto, very good. He would try to get up, but he would feel a slight movement in his body, adjusting his vision. He would realize that it was a girl who was moving him. She was a very beautiful young woman, black hair and eyes and a pink flowered dress. Without a doubt, she would fall in love with him. Any boy. Wake up, child, or else you might catch a cold, and it won't be good at this time. Her sweet voice would reach his ears like the song of angels, making Naruto sit up again. Quickly, so as not to make a fool of myself. Don't worry, I'm not going to catch a cold. I can't do it. I can't fall. I can't give up on anything. I must protect my precious people, Databeo. The Uzumaki, he would say with a big enthusiastic smile on his face. The girl would laugh tenderly when she saw how energetic this boy was. He was undoubtedly very particular. You have a lot of energy from what I see. My name is Haku, and yours? The one now identified as Haku would ask the Ajiazu. I was really interested in knowing the name of such a curious child. Uzumaki Naruto, future Hokage of the village hidden among the leaves. At your service. Naruto, with a radiant smile, would introduce himself to the brunette, who would nod her head upon knowing his name and reciprocating his greeting. Fence, you have a lot of confidence in yourself when saying those words. No ninja says those words these days. But, from what I see, if you continue like this, in the future, you will be able to be. I trust you. The young woman would see how Naruto became serious for a few moments, leaving her somewhat confused. I will train day and night to protect the people I care about, and to protect my village. I will even die trying if I must. That is what a true Hokage does. Always watch for others. Even if they turn their back on you, you go to the front for them. Haku would be amazed to hear such words. I would bet anything that no child of Naruto's age would say things like this. It was really very surprising. I also have an important person to protect, and that's why I'm collecting these healing herbs. See? By the way, could you help me, please? Please? The girl, he would show that special herbs, to which the Uzumaki would gladly agree. If he was going to be Hokage, he had to help every person who needed it without exception. And regardless of whether he was from other villages, he would always help those needy, because that was his ninja way, and he was never going to back down. Time later. The morning passed quickly for both of them. While they collected the necessary herbs, they began a pleasant conversation so that the work would not be so tedious, and at noon, the girl had already collected enough medicine for her friend. And she could leave calmly and without worries. Thank you very much, Naruto. I really thank you with all my heart. With this, my friend will recover in a very good way. Well, it's time to say goodbye. I hope to see each other again. I had a great time with you. Goodbye. And by the way, I'm a boy. Haku would say, saying goodbye, but a laugh would stop him in the act, making him look to the boy with doubt. I knew that from the beginning. I'm not as stupid as I seem, and just as that phrase came, the Uzumaki left the area in a sunshine, leaving the boy somewhat distraught. The day passed normally between training and helping Mr. Tazuna, as was customary in this place. There was no relevant news that could be told, except the return of the Uzumaki to the house of the bridge builder, apologizing for his bad behavior the night before. The next day, the 3 strongest warriors of the 12 universes would leave the house in the direction of the village, while Team 7 and Tazuna would head to the bridge to finish it once and for all and thus finish the assigned mission. Goku and company would see the desolate panorama of the village. It was sad to see the town in such conditions, even for a murderer like Hit. This place was very depressing. The children in the streets crying for food, the old men sleeping in alleys, the women asking for money. But they were going to find a solution to help those people. They promised the old Rikudu they would make a change in this place, and it would be a change for the better. Suddenly they felt 2 presences approaching Tazuna's residence. There were probably 2 thugs or something. The style, to attack Tazuna's family while he was busy working on the bridge. The vigilante, feeling the repugnant intentions of the people, would ask his companions to be in charge of exterminating those pests. They had no objection, and they just followed the gray man who took flight towards the builder's house. "This will be easy, my friend. We kill the child and rape the whore to take her to Mr. Gato. Like I love this job. I will never get tired of this," a man would say, smiling maliciously, ready to break the front door and be able to have his little fun with that woman. But before they did anything, an instinct too strong assassin made them freeze in place and kneel for no reason. Hell, this environment was too hostile even for them. "And you think I'll let these good people do that?" Both guys would turn away, look slowly, only to find a vision of their most remote nightmares. It was a humanoid with gray skin and completely black eyes observing them carefully with crossed arms with a serious face. One of the guys had a very dubious stain on his pants and the other was sweating profusely. What the hell was that thing? Was it human? Not even they knew for sure. "You pollute this air with its disgusting breathing." Jiren would raise a finger so that a small red sphere would be thrown at the bullies. They, being scared and shocked by the appearance of that thing, could not move and ended up consumed by said sphere, generating a small explosion that when the smoke dissipated there would be no trace of either of them. People who take advantage of the weak are the worst trash in the universe. Jiren would see how his companions approached him saying that they should go to the bridge. They felt a lot of energy in that place, but upon noticing the intentions, they would realize that a combat was taking place in these a lot of energy in that place. But upon noticing the intentions, they would realize that a fight was taking place right now, and Kakashi's team was involved. But it was not going very well. The 3 would fly towards the site of the battle to put an end to it once and for all.